They revealed the three most shocking judgments in the book of Revelation. Few knew what truly happened that night in the ancient city of Pergamum. A whirl of fear gripped the hearts of the faithful as they gathered, uncertain of what the darkened skies above foretold. The air was thick with whispers and dread. They spoke of visions begun with a roar, like thunder crashing against the mountains, and then silence, a haunting void where hope once resided. At the center of it all was John, the last disciple. He stood there, trembling, as he recounted the vivid images that flooded his mind. The ominous figure of the beast, rising from the dark depths, emerged as a grotesque silhouette against the flickering torches. Its scales shimmered with an unsettling luminosity, capturing sympathy and revulsion in equal measure. How could one creature inspire such terror? The time was not kind. It was a time when the Roman Empire loomed large, a force that crushed the spirit beneath its heel. The message of love and grace clashed violently with brute power. As John spoke, the gathered crowd leaned in closer, their expressions a blend of horror and magnificent awe. Could these judgments be a divine sign? Suddenly, John's voice broke the tension. And behold! He cried, eyes wide as saucers. He described a trumpet blast, deafening and pure, with the power to split the earth. It foretold a darkened sun, a blood-red moon, and stars falling like burning stones from the sky. The very fabric of nature stirred in chaos, as if the world was recoiling in horror. Questions hung in the air like the acrid smoke of the burning altar. Some argued. Was this punishment? Or a warning? A battle for the soul of humanity? Doubts flickered in their hearts. Shadows flitted among the crowd, sorrow mingling with resolve. If there were miracles in judgment, what salvation could possibly exist? As John recounted the torment of the plagues, the rivers running black as ink, the screams echoing in the night, fear coursed through every vein. Would they escape the final wrath? Would they see redemption, or was this a one-way path to despair? Uncertainty loomed, wrapping around them tighter than chains, but amid the turmoil, a glimmer of hope sparkled from the prophecy. There was talk of a new Jerusalem, pure and glorious. Could it be? Hearts dared to dream, even in the bitterness of the unfolding judgment. The crowd, a mosaic of fear and yearning, shared a collective breath. Would they have the courage to endure? What awaits them in the darkness? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the night deepened, the sky loomed heavy with a shroud of uncertainty. Those assembled in the shadow of the ancient walls of Pergamum listened intently, each heart aflame with the pleading question, why? John, considering the frailty of human understanding, surveyed the faces illuminated by flickering flames. Their eyes, wide with wonder and fear, searched for assurance, for meaning. Among his troubled words, with a steady breath, John spoke of a vision more startling than what had escaped his lips thus far. In the silence after the thunder, I saw a multitude, a great throng of voices. He paused for a moment, allowing the tension to layer in the air, heavy yet palpable. They arose from the earth, their faces glowing like diamonds, both radiant and somber. Were they the souls of the righteous, or the cries of the lost? He described how they gathered around a shimmering throne, ever-shifting luster reflecting in their awe. The figure seated upon it, cloaked in light, seemed both distant and intimately familiar. Like a mother cradling her beloved child, yet with a fierce authority that demanded reverence. Who was this sovereign? The crowd leaned in even closer, yearning to touch the fabric of revelation itself. From this throne, words pierced the night, those who have endured shall be set free, but those who have turned away shall know sorrow without end. The weight of his proclamation settled upon them, each word an echo of both promise and peril. The doubts they harbored began to congeal into a palpable fog of despair. Yet, within this darkness, sunlight broke through, stirring a glimmer of hope. Could it be that judgment itself bore the seeds of redemption? With each passing moment, as John elaborated on the deep meaning of the visions, questions abounded, striving to peel back the veils that obscured understanding. What awaited them beyond the turmoil? Was there indeed a divine purpose in these tribulations? Consider the fig tree, John urged, his tone rising with fervor. It must first undergo pruning to bear fruit. Shall we not expect the same in our own lives? There was a stirring among the people. Many sought the heart of the matter, feeling within themselves the truth of his metaphor, a truth that resonated deeply, speaking to their own weariness under the weight of their trials. Yet, the congregation simmered under a wave of raw emotion. If we are to face trials, one voice interjected, trembling yet resolute, what becomes of our hopes? How do we remain steadfast when the very skies seem to crumble above us? Murmurs rippled through the throng, stitching vulnerability and courage together in a fragile tapestry of faith. John regarded them with understanding, a fervent spirit coursing through him. Remember the story of Daniel in the lion's den, he reminded them. He was not spared from the trial, but delivered through it. Each judgment brings an invitation to commune with the divine, to engage within our deepest fears and to rise anew. Our endurance may yield unseen blessings. With that, a hush fell over the crowd. Silence paved the way for the uncharted motions of their hearts as the flickering flames mirrored the inner tumult. Would they find the courage to tread this path, trusting in the promise of restoration ahead? As John prepared to share further revelations, he sensed the coiling tension around him, a river of emotions yet to be untangled. In that moment, a single question swirled through the crowd, weaving itself deeply into their consciousness: could there be more to fear than the judgments themselves, or were the true fears rooted in the shadows of their own hearts, waiting to be illuminated by the light of understanding? Amidst the hushed stillness that followed John's words, an unsettling sense of anticipation began to build in the air, as if the very fabric of time held its breath. The flames danced exuberantly, casting flickering shadows on the walls, reminiscent of the turmoil that churned within each soul present. John looked upon their faces, some pale and drawn, others alight with the fire of conviction and curiosity. Beloved friends, John began anew, his voice a steady guide through the thoughts swirling like autumn leaves in the wind. In my vision, I beheld not just the judgments but their profound meaning, their depths laden with the echoes of our collective existence. He paused, letting the weight of his declaration settle like dusk around them. For every tear sown through grief, something anew shall spring forth. The judgments, they are not final, but catalysts to the awakening. With a wave of his hand that summoned the hearts of the listeners, he recalled further visions that permeated the silence. I saw 3 judgments, deeply interwoven with the fabric of justice and mercy. The first was a star, fallen from the heavens, named Wormwood. It fell upon the waters, turning them bitter, and many perished. But what does the bitter water signify, if not the soul's bitter betrayal of its own essence? How can we harbor darkness and still claim the light? The crowd shifted, grappling with the implications, murmurs echoing like the rustle of leaves in a summer breeze. John's words, sharp yet prophetic, carved paths of reflection upon their hearts, his deep-set gaze inviting them to explore their shadowed corners. Then I saw a great beast rise from the depths of the earth, he continued, the vivid imagery striking chords within their spirits. With 10 horns and 7 heads, the beast wielded power and demanded worship. What is this power if not the allure of our own desires? The very things we elevate above the divine? Are these idols not resurrected whispers of our pride and ambition? A deep sigh spread through the assembly, understanding flickering like the candlelight. Confusion mingled with clarity, as individuals found themselves in the mirrored gaze of their Creator and their creations, and lastly, a silence fell from heaven, so profound it enveloped the earth. The 24 elders, those revered among the heavenly host, voices united, proclaiming glory to the Most High in reverence to His judgment. This silence is potent. Could it be that our cries, our incessant pleas for clarity, must yield to the divine timing of understanding? Should we not embrace the silence as fertile ground for insight and growth? As each judgment was unveiled, John witnessed the collective shifting of spirits, hearts swelling with fear and wonder alike. They were beginning to grasp the larger cosmic dance of love intertwined with justice, fear woven with understanding. Yet, what remained unspoken was heavy, like a storm cloud poised to burst. John's gaze swept over the crowd, feeling the tension and the flickers of hope intertwined. In this hour, he asked gently, what judgments do we cast upon ourselves, and are we prepared to unearth the darkness we harbor for the promise of light? What if our greatest fears lie not in fate, but lie dormant within us, waiting for the right time to emerge into fullness? As he posed this question, the night deepened around them, filled with the weight of exploration and an undeniable sense of yearning. In this sacred space, a profound truth shimmered just beyond their grasp, a quest for understanding that lingered tantalizingly in the air. Would they dare to illuminate the shadows lurking within, step into the transformative light, and embrace the divine mystery unfolding before them? The murmurs that spread through the gathering were laden with both uncertainty and resolve. Amidst the flickering light, a palpable energy coalesced as the gathered souls contemplated John's profound visions. Each flicker of flame mirrored the stirrings within their hearts, revealing hidden corners of doubt and longing, igniting a thirst for clarity that could not be quenched by mere words. A woman named Miriam, her face soft but marked by the weight of concerns, stepped forward from the throng. "John," she began, her voice trembling yet resolute, "you speak of these judgments as catalysts, yet many are afraid. Can there indeed be rebirth through despair? How do we reconcile the pain that such judgments seem to propagate?" John turned his gaze upon her, a warmth emanating from his heart as he acknowledged her question, a sacred inquiry surfacing amidst their confusion. "Dearest Miriam," he said, "the journey toward renewal often traverses paths of pain. But consider, what is the seed that bursts forth to life but first must be cracked open, its shell laid to waste? It is in our vulnerability, in facing the shards of ourselves that we uncover hidden graces. As murmurs of understanding rippled through the crowd, another figure, a man named Eli, stepped forth, his voice burning with emotion. "But John, if these judgments reveal our shadows, what if we are beyond redemption? Should we not be cautioned against the flash of condemnation that seems to loom?" John regarded Eli with a compassionate gaze. "Ah, friend, therein lies the crux of our conflict, perceiving judgment as the end rather than the threshold. Long has the world held the illusion that judgment is synonymous with punishment, yet within divine love, it serves as the divine mirror reflecting our true selves. In its embrace, we are shown the fullness of our humanity, revealing the brilliance that arises even from the deepest fissures." With those words, something shifted in the crowd, a flickering light of hope ignited as they began to see the threads of interconnectedness winding through their tribulations. Like the shoot that emerges from the cracks of stone, they held on to the notion of emergence from darkness. Yet, as thoughts danced and swirled, a silence descended upon the assembly, profound and deafening. What awaited in the depths of their embodied selves? The ethereal whispers of fear lingering just beneath the surface loomed ever larger. In that pregnant pause, an elder named Asa stood, his voice a deep rumble, filled with the weight of age and experience. "If divine judgment leads us to face ourselves, what of those who fear the truth that lies within? Are we merely to float upon the sea of uncertainty until the day of reckoning, or do we possess within the means to master our own storms?" John contemplated Asa's words, feeling the stirring of a deeper mystery unfold before them. "You speak of mastery, dear Asa, yet is it not in surrender that true power is forged? As we yield to this sacred introspection, we permit transformation to arise not as masters manipulating fate but as children, awakening to the sacred breath of life." The responses were enriched with layers of complexity as the gathered souls exchanged contemplative glances, grappling with their own discoveries and the whispers of wisdom that spun around them like the gentle breeze that tousled their hair. Herein lay the crux of existence, a convergence of fear and faith, shadows and light, doubts and convictions. At that moment, John felt an invisible thread tugging at his heart, leading him forward to a deeper revelation yet untold. As we ponder the nature of judgment and embrace our inner landscapes, may we consider this question: what if the judgments we fear are but reflections of the love we have yet to accept within? What still remains hidden in the depths of our hearts, waiting to be unveiled in the light of communal grace? And so, the night stretched on, rich with the weight of their shared introspection, as they collectively ventured deeper into the sacred mysteries that lay ahead, an odyssey still in its unfolding, filled with unseen realms of understanding yet to explore. What divine truths would still reveal themselves, and how would their journeys transform as they turned towards the light? As the assembly settled into a contemplative silence, the flickering flames cast long shadows upon their faces, illuminating the myriad expressions of introspection woven among them. The air throbbed with an unspoken energy, reverberating through the very cores of their beings, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, awaiting the next celestial revelation that John might impart. Taking a deep breath, John knew that the moment required more than mere words, it demanded vulnerability from the depths of his own heart. "Beloved friends," he began, his voice steady yet soft, "as we explore the judgments spoken of in visions, let us peel back the layers obscuring our vision. For they are not just the harbingers of doom, they are the birth cries of transformation." Miriam stepped closer, her curiosity piqued. "What do you mean, John? If these judgments are transformative, what can we glean from them for our lives today? Are they not, in essence, warnings of impending calamity?" John nodded thoughtfully, knowing the weight of her inquiry. "Indeed, they hold that power. But what if we understand them not just as warnings, but as divine invitations? Invitations to awaken our dormant virtues and to rise above the shackles of our fears. In facing these judgments, we confront not only our sins but the very essence of our potential. It is in the turmoil we find clarity, as a mirror reveals the intricate patterns of our being. As he spoke, Eli leaned in, grappling with his own tangled thoughts. But if these are mere reflections of our essence, do we not walk a precarious line with our souls? What if, in our search for truth, we wind up facing our greatest fears? What if these judgments expose wounds that have yet to heal? A valid concern, dear Eli, John replied, his eyes glistening with understanding. Yet I ask you this, in what shadowed corner of your heart has pain not yet transformed into wisdom? Is it not through the fire that we forge our strength? Those judgments that cause trepidation are often the catalysts for revelation, revealing the divine thread woven within our struggles. The crowd murmured in acknowledgement, drawing strength from John's resolute demeanor, yet uncertainty still lingered like a spectral presence. Asa, the elder, raised his hand slowly, waiting for attention. In essence, John, do you suggest that we invite these depths into our lives rather than shield ourselves from them? To embrace our shadows and integrate them into our being? Precisely, elder, John affirmed, his voice lifting with fervor. To welcome these revelations is to dance with the sacred turmoil that lies within us all. It is through our facing of judgment that we discover the alchemy of love and grace. And from that love, we emerge transformed, as do the phoenixes from the ashes of their past. As the crowd absorbed his words, the atmosphere shifted, a gentle hum of realization coursing through their bodies. Yet, the mystery surrounding the imminent judgment still clung to the air, a looming presence that none dared disregard. John could feel it swirling, a storm of untapped courage and trembling apprehension locking gazes within him, a reminder of their collective fear. What lies beyond fear? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, yet it resonated palpably. What divine essence waits to erupt when we allow the fires of judgment to cleanse us? What if we discover not just who we are in darkness, but who we are meant to be in the fullness of light? A reflective hush enveloped the gathering, as individual souls began to peer into the depths of their own spirits, questioning the shadows that had long held dominion over their lives. The question lingered, unfulfilled and provocative, as yet another layer was stripped away. In that instant, as the evening deepened into night, John felt the winds of change sweeping through them, a call to adventure that was echoed in the rustling leaves and the soft whisper of the stars above. How would their perceptions evolve when confronted by truths that were both terrifying and empowering? What judgments still lay ahead, waiting to guide them deeper into the heart of their collective journey? As the stars pricked the velvet canvas of the night, an almost palpable stillness enveloped the crowd. The wind stilled, as though they too were keen to listen. John sensed the transformative energy coursing through their ranks, each heart beating in rhythm with the pulse of anticipation. His thoughts drifted to the scrolls packed with prophecies, the sacred text whose words felt like a distant echo only he seemed to hear with clarity. Beloved, he spoke softly again, to navigate the tumult ahead, we must summon all the wisdom that lies dormant within our traditionsa, wisdom embedded in the very fabric of our existence. For within these judgments lie the essence of who we are and who we are called to become. Miriam stepped back, her brow furrowed. But what of the violent images, the wrath and the despair? Can we truly perceive love where there is destruction? John placed a calming hand upon her shoulder. Those images are not merely for consumption, they demand introspection. What is destruction if not the prelude to a new creation? It is all part of the cycle of death, rebirth, and resurrection. Like the grains of wheat, which must fall to the ground and die before they spring forth in abundance. This divine narrative invites us to reconsider our own cycles of trial and transformation. Eli, still troubled yet intrigued, ventured forth, but how does one reconcile these fierce judgments with the message of grace? Is that not the crux of our journey, to find the delicate balance between our inherent flaws and divine forgiveness? John looked at each soul assembled before him, feeling the weight of their questions. Indeed, friend. That balance is the cornerstone of our faith. But the judgments are included for the purpose of awakening, of facilitating our soul's growth. Remember that love does not shy away from the truth. It invites us to confront it, to understand that grace is most profound when we recognize our deepest humility. A paradox, then, Asa interjected, the flicker of understanding igniting in his eyes. To embrace the judgments as a pathway to grace. Does that not require a courageous heart, one willing to stand firm against the tempest of its own failings? You speak truth, elder, John affirmed. It is a call to the brave. But it is also an invitation to communitato, walk together through the shadows, hand in hand, reassured by the promise of companionship. Therein lies the beauty of the judgments, they compel us to grow not in isolation, but in unity. As he articulated these thoughts, an unsettling realization washed over the assembly, a collective recognition that they were poised at the edge of revelation, a turning point that begged for their active participation. And so, John continued with fervor, we must ask ourselves, what are the three most startling judgments yet to be revealed? What hidden truths remain obscured by shadows, waiting for our illuminative gaze? Perhaps they are reflections of our own unaddressed fears. Perhaps in them lies an invitation to discover a new facet of divine love that we have yet to embrace. The crowd fell silent once more, the air rippling with a heady mixture of fervor and trepidation. The unanswered questions hung like ripe fruit in the branches above, and they sensed the stirring of change on the horizon. What must each of us confront in ourselves to unlock the transformative power of these judgments? How will our collective faith be tested as we step into this unknown, illuminated by the threshold of grace waiting to be discovered? As the quiet draped itself around them like a shroud, the atmosphere grew weighty with anticipation, as if heaven itself held its breath. The starlit sky bore witness to their gathering, a cosmic witness to the struggle of the human soul caught between despair and hope. A chill brushed the air, signaling the urgency of the moment. John nodded thoughtfully, sensing the weight of their collective gaze. In the dark corners of this world lie three judgments, stark and unavoidable, yet cloaked in the wisdom of transformation. As we seek to unveil them, let us not forget that each judgment reflects our inner battles, our hesitations, and our desires to transcend our limitations. Miriam spoke first, her voice soft yet penetrating. If these judgments are indeed mirrors reflecting our fears, what do they reveal about us as a people? Are we not as lost as those who faced wrath before us? Just as the ancients faced their reckoning, so too do we, John replied, finding strength in his words. Our journey begins with acknowledging the paths we have tread, those laden with betrayal, selfishness, and ignorance. Each soul must sift through their own history, confront the shadows that lurk, for there lies the first of our judgments, the judgment of truth. The murmurs resonated within the crowd, their reflections sparking a deep inquiry into personal truths long buried. Could it be that their reluctance to confront the painful realities of their lives rendered them unable to fully experience grace? As Eli considered John's words, a new thought emerged. And the second, he pressed gently. What about the pulse of existence that binds us in our shortcomings? Is there not a deeper reckoning that must be faced together? Ah, John interjected, brightening, the judgment of community. When one suffers, all feel the anguish. It is not merely our personal failings that endanger us but the apathy towards our brothers and sisters. We must examine our hearts. Are we open to the burdens others carry? Are we willing to share in the struggle and, more importantly, find joy in one another's victories? Soft nods rippled through the crowd, eyes widening in understanding. The notion of interdependency of love woven through shared burdens unfurled in their hearts like a blooming flower. They felt the weight lift slightly, as if an unacknowledged piece of their existence slipped into the light, but the final judgment, Oz's voice broke through with solemn clarity, what of it? Surely, it holds the gravest weight. John paused, allowing the tension to deepen like the quiet before a storm. The third judgment is, indeed, the most complex and daunting, the judgment of self. We are all called to stand before our own reflection, to recognize our authentic self stripped of pretense. This summons us to account not only for our actions but for the desires and intentions behind them. Are we living in accordance with the truths we profess? A profound silence fell as each individual wrestled with the implications. In that stillness, vulnerability found its place, hearts exposed like leaves caught in a gust, trembling yet seeking shelter together. Yet still, the essence of their gathering remained tantalizingly unresolved. Each man and woman clamored with unspoken revelations, their hearts beat in harmony with the cosmos, poised on the precipice of insight. As they explored this depth together, an unyielding question settled among them: how might the judgments that reflect our truths compel us to confront our greatest fears and ultimately transform our very essence? Could it be that within the depths of judgment lies a potent seed of grace, needing only the light of our awareness to grow? The moon hung low in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over the assembly. Shadows danced along the faces of those gathered, their expressions a mixture of contemplation and curiosity. The air felt pregnant with questions, and as the soft rustling of leaves accompanied the occasional whispers, the dialogue felt a Livian exchange of souls yearning for truth. Miriam broke the silence once more, her voice wavering yet firm. If we are to confront our truths, to bear the weight of our community, what then do we do? How can we nurture the seed of grace that John has spoken of, especially in light of our missteps? A fair question, John acknowledged, his heart swelling with the sincerity of their inquiry. Understanding our fears is but the first step. We must act with intention and purpose. This requires a willingness to step into the uncomfortable realms of our being. We must be prepared to unearth the roots of our discontent and challenge the very systems that foster division among us. As he spoke, Ella's brow furrowed deeper. But how do we engage in this unearthing? The landscapes of our lives are riddled with pain. What if the exposure leads to further bitterness rather than liberation? Can grace truly emerge from judgment? Ah, John replied, a smile creeping onto his lips, to seek grace is to invite vulnerability. It is precisely through our brokenness that we can nurture compassion. When we share our stories and listen deeply, we cultivate spaces where love can flourish amid imperfections. This is why the judgment of community is just as vital, to remind us that we are not alone in our struggles but together in our journey toward wholeness. A palpable energy surged through the gathering, as the realization settled that vulnerability could lead to solidarity. Yet, Asa, with an impassioned gesture, sought to push deeper. And what of those who refuse the light? Those who, like shadows, cling tightly to their fears and resentments? How do we reach them? Can we still hope for their transformation? John's expression turned serious, for he understood the gravity of the question. Transformation is a mystery all its own. We cannot force another to embrace their journey. Yet, we can embody grace, reflect it in our actions, and shine our light brightly. Sometimes, a single act of kindness, a mere offering of understanding, can pierce the darkness of another's heart. Suddenly, a soft wind swept through the crowd, rustling the branches above, and some turned their gazes skyward, entranced momentarily by the dance of the leaves. Was this a sign? An invitation from the heavens themselves? Miriam, still deep in thought, mused aloud, but how do we begin? Where does the journey of transformation truly start? Is it within the heart, the community, or somewhere beyond? Her question hung in the air, layered and multifaceted. Each person felt the weight of their own circumstances and the myriad conclusions they had arrived at within their hearts. As they pondered, a deeper layer of understanding unfurled. What if the act of questioning itself, this earnest search for meaning, was precisely where transformation began? What if each inquiry opened a new doorway, leading them closer to the divine mysteries woven within their existence? With this contemplation settled in their minds, a restless night awaited them. Here, under the vast canopy of the universe, the assembly lingered in their uncertainties, bidding the dawn to bring clarity. Yet a question lingered in the quiet: what would it take for them to courageously face their own judgments, to allow grace to cultivate amidst the shadows of fear and resentment? Would they courageously pursue the light even when the way was unclear? As dawn slowly unfurled its golden rays across the horizon, the assembly remained wrapped in an uneasy silence, the night's question still echoing within their hearts. The first light filtered through the branches above, casting intricate shadows on their faces, now more contemplative than ever. They felt the magnetic pull of the mysteries that surrounded them, as if the very air was thick with divine inquiry. Eli was the first to break the silence, his voice barely above a whisper, laced with breathless awe. What if, in our judgment of others, we lose sight of our own shadows? Can we dare to look within, to confront the truths we have long hidden? This sparked a wave of murmurs, each person reflecting on Ella's revelation. It was Miriam who spoke next, her heart pounding. What is it that we fear in ourselves? Perhaps it is our imperfections, our anger, our confusion that we wish to suppress. Yet each of these shadows is a part of our collective soul. How then, can we find wholeness without embracing them? As her question echoed, John stepped forward. We have been conditioned to view judgment as a weapon, a means of separating ourselves from others. Yet, what if we considered it instead as a mirror, a reflection that reveals not just flaws, but also the potential for growth? In confronting our judgments of others, we might discover our deepest insecurities, the roots of our own bitterness. A contemplative hush fell upon the group, as each person sat deep within their thoughts. It was Asa who brought forth a new perspective. But John, if we recognize our own shadows, why then should we not hold others accountable for theirs? Is there not a fine line between embracing grace and enabling behavior that harms? John replied thoughtfully, accountability and grace are intertwined yet distinct. To hold someone accountable is an act of love, meant to guide them back towards their essence. But often, we wield judgment not as a tool for healing, but as a weapon of division. Our challenge is to transform our thoughts and actions into instruments of compassion rather than condemnation. For all the understanding John had attempted to convey, a restless unease lingered. Thoughts meandered like the gentle flow of a river, each individual grappling with a kaleidoscope of emotions and reflections. Miriam slowly raised her hand, drawing attention back to her. What if our journey to judgment is not merely to seek understanding but to engage in a holy dance, one where we might step in rhythm with each other's pain and joys? What might we learn by experiencing another's shadows? A moment passed as the assembly contemplated this poignant thought. There was a collective inhalation of possibility, yet the burden of doubt loomed large. Resolute vulnerability was one thing, the weight of another's pain was a different challenge altogether. They began to realize that an open heart could mirror the divine mystery, inviting not only grace for themselves but also for those lost in their own darkness. In the sacred act of sharing these burdens, they might find shared strength. And then came another question, one that echoed through the minds of many: what if the true journey starts not with the judgment of sin, but with the understanding of our shared humanity? Could the key to transformation lie in the embrace of one another's imperfections? Beneath the soft glow of the rising sun, the assembly continued to ponder over this profound query, neither eager to abandon the night's reflections nor wishing to turn away from the dawning insights that awaited them. As the day broke, so too did the hope that they might find the courage to encounter not just their truths, but also the truths of those who stood beside them, united in their shared journey toward grace. Would they be brave enough to engage in this dance of revelation? As the first rays of the sun broke over the horizon, filling the ancient city of Pergamum with a golden hue, the assembly found themselves transformed. Resting in the embrace of dawn, the flickering uncertainties of the night before were replaced by a quiet conviction that had taken root deep within their souls. John stood before them, a silent witness to the metamorphosis unfolding, each heart now open to the promise of salvation woven intricately into their very existence. With a voice that resonated with newfound strength, he addressed the crowd, threading together the discussions of the previous night. Beloved friends, we stand at the threshold of awakening, our hearts now aligned not in fear but in anticipation of the divine purpose that awaits us. Each judgment we have spoken of has cast light upon the shadows of our hearts, revealing the hidden struggles that bind us. Yet today, the dawn invites us to recognize the power within our shared humanity. A collective intake of breath rippled through the assembly. The gravity of their journey surged, igniting hope as they forged ahead, hearts beatingly entwined. John spoke of their shared stories, the burdens that had chained them to doubt, the struggles that left them feeling fragmented. No longer would they dwell solely in judgment, instead, they would delve into the grace that emerges from the depths of empathy. What if, John continued, eyes alight with fervor, we release the weight of judgment, no longer hampered by the fear of inadequacy or the shackles of resentment? What if we choose to meet one another with tenderness, transforming our judgments into a language of love? In truth, it is this love that allows judgment to metamorphose into mercy. Murmurs swirled like exhalations of breath, intertwining thoughts within the folds of their spirits. Miriam, emboldened by the fire of connection igniting between them all, stepped forward once more. How do we practice this love, John? How do we allow ourselves to be vulnerable amidst the suffering that life carries within our own souls and in those of our brothers and sisters? John responded with unwavering assurance. We practice love through recognition, seeing one another as individuals crafted by divine intention, flawed yet inherently worthy of grace. When we acknowledge each other's humanity, we resonate with a deeper truth, that we are all part of the same sacred tapestry. Here, dear Miriam, lies the beauty of redemption, for in loving others through their shadows, we invite healing into our OWN. Energetic pulse radiated from the assembly, the bold jolts of truth reshaping their perception of one another and themselves. Eli, with eyes glistening with newfound understanding, prodded gently, but how do we cultivate this daily love, even when our own trials threaten to overwhelm us? Can we hold space for others without feeling the sting of judgment return? Yes, dear Eli, John reassured him, the pain we encounter is a shared experience, yet it need not sever our capacity to give and receive love. We cultivate this divine embrace by pursuing honesty within ourselves, acknowledging our failings while striving to rise above them. In embracing our vulnerability, we become the light, illuminating the shadows for others to see that they too can emerge transformed. As the sun continued its ascent, its rays bathed the assembly in warmth, instilling courage in each heart. The dawn's profound message resonated like an echo of hope penetrating the once muted complexities of their existence. In that sacred moment, John shared his final vision, one he had yet to speak. I beheld a great multitude gathering in a field, hand in hand, faces radiant and unburdened. It was as if the shadows had relinquished their grasp, as love surged among them, invigorating their spirits anew. They stood united, each carrying the weight of the judgments they once feared, but now transformed into radiant symbols of compassion. The assembly stirred at the promise and envisioned this transformed multitude, their hearts swelling with faith. The fears that had once loomed ominously like a tempest began to dissipate into the ether, replaced by the gift of connection, understanding, and love. With clarity washing over each individual soul, John proclaimed, "Let us be the bearers of this love. Let us gather as the transformed multitude of this vision, stepping boldly into our shared journey. May we carry the essence of grace forward, choosing to illuminate the world with compassion that can shatter the heaviest of shadows." With those powerful words echoing in the air, the sun blazed forth in majestic brilliance, a symbol of rebirth and renewal, an ultimate testament that each trial faced could yield beauty beyond measure. As the assembly joined hands, their voices harmonized in a fervent anthem of resolve and faith, a unity forged in the crucible of understanding. In that moment, they became a living testament to the sacred intertwining of love, judgment, and grace, a revelation that rippled through time, echoing into the future. The encapsulation of the past no longer held them captive, their hearts could now sing freely, embodying the truths unearthed beneath the specters of fear. As the shadows of the night melted away and the dawn illuminated their path with divine promise, the assembly knew that they were not merely gathered for a singular purpose but were now catalysts of change, carrying within them the seeds of transformation, the promise that emerged in the dance of vulnerability and courage. And so, it was not just the judgments that they shared, but the embrace of grace waiting to unfold, echoing in the hearts of those who would encounter their story for generations to come. In embracing the dawn, they had awakened to the fullness of life awaiting them, determined to walk together, guided by love, descendants of light united against the struggles obscuring their shared humanity. This powerful revelation would not fade with the setting sun, it would spread anew, igniting faith in hearts anew, whispering, "There is always grace beyond judgment, and the light of love is ours to share."